Ay, it's a new world, gotta adapt to it. Innovation, information, more than the average. Rushing, please ignore the interruptions, cause this is digital discussions.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Digital Discussions. I have two amazing guests on today, and obviously the theme based on these guests is going to be a little bit about social media. First, we have Judi Fox, the queen of LinkedIn. And Judi, we just wrapped up your course, which we could talk about, and I highly recommend everybody else checks out. And then I have my business partner in HelloJenny, Carrie Bobb, which I'm also extremely excited to talk about. So this episode's special, guys. Thank you for joining me.
Excited to be here.
This is so fun. Thanks, Jay.
Of course. So why don't we just kind of talk a little bit about LinkedIn, and that'll get our juices flowing in the social media space. And Judi, there's so many things that, first off, I'm not great at LinkedIn, and I'm trying to be better at it. And going through the course with you was so eye-opening because I learned so many things that might even seem obvious to people that I think you don't really would never come across unless you actually work with a professional like yourself.
Yes, I like to think that there's macro and micro actions that we can take on LinkedIn every single day. Or if you don't have time, once a week, maybe. Can you do once a week?
Absolutely. And actually that's part of it, right? Because yes. You said, you basically said that you shouldn't actually post that frequently on LinkedIn. And again, like, I'm a nightmare on my social media, and I just do things that I think I should be doing, especially on Instagram. And Carrie, like, we have to change that because I'm not about engagement. I'm about just, hey, 2 posts a day at certain hours, and it's what I do. But Judi, you were very helpful in changing my cadence on LinkedIn. What is the right frequency, would you say?
So for people that want to build up visibility, so people who are saying to themselves, where's the audience? Where are the likes and the comments? And if you're saying that to yourself at all, and you are posting, then scale back, because what happens is that, to me, is called burning out your audience. You are not joining a conversation with them. LinkedIn has the energy and kind of wants the vibe of a 24/7 networking vibe. And you would never walk into a networking event in person and just get on a microphone and go, hello, everybody. I mean, maybe you would, Jayson. I don't know, but one of those megaphones.
Guilty as charged.
But I feel like imagine everyone on LinkedIn having a megaphone and they're all just yelling at each other and nobody's listening. So I tell people, when you post once a week on average, you have the time then, because right now a lot of people are spending all that time trying to create the content. When you are starting, again, there's a starting strategy, there's a maintain strategy, and then there's a growth strategy. So if you are starting strategy, try to come in and join the conversation. Find out what your audience, what your ideal client, what your ideal avatar, however you want to call them, find out what they're currently talking about. What are they currently interested? How are they talking about it? Are they posting videos about it? Are they writing texts about it? Are they sharing news features from certain industries or certain outlets? Like, they're constantly sharing a certain, I don't know, I'm just going to pull Housing Wire or something. They're always sharing something. What are they sharing from? Just kind of be a studier of what your world is talking about, and then you can join. It's like the on-ramp on the highway. Then you join the conversation and you look more relevant to them, and then you get more likes and comments.
I love that.
Judi, I have a question for you, Jay. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
So Jay's told me all about your course recently, and I want to definitely take it because he's just raved about it. And I feel like I've merged onto the freeway, and I've kind of got my bearings, because you have to like get into the rhythm of like posting once a week and like figuring out how to engage. And then I'm curious about what you said about the growth strategy. Like, what's the overall theme for that? And you said there's like macro and micro. So whichever lane you're in, what are some of the the macro micro things on growth?
Oh, so the growth strategy is trying, it's like, I feel like the highway analogy, this is my first time really leaning into this highway analogy, and I'm loving it because everyone drives on the highway. At least I think everyone does. But you get on the highway, and are you super annoyed by everyone trying to get in the left-hand lane? And you're like, that's just for passing. Get in the right-hand lane if you're going to be slow. If you don't get the platform, get in the right-hand lane. So I think the growth strategy is really, once you've understood the cadence of the platform, you can fly in that left-hand lane. A strategy for doing that is to, number one, lean into what already goes viral on LinkedIn. So the number one way that I do that is I actually cheat. Is this cheating? But I feel like I'm giving you like an inside code. Grab the summary from BuzzSumo or another outlet that literally Google what went viral on LinkedIn in 2018 or what went viral on LinkedIn in 2019. They probably haven't done the summary for 2020, but I joined LinkedIn in 2009, but I started making content very, consistently or more intentionally on LinkedIn in March of 2018. That's when they launched video. I was able to make a video on LinkedIn. And I literally grabbed the 2017 what went viral on LinkedIn, and then I just repeated the pattern. I don't know if that makes sense, but
That's awesome.
like cheat code. We already know what works, and you just merge onto that fast lane with other people who are going super fast.
Yeah, for sure. And by the way, a lot of my audience are fans of Chris Ressa, and I will say here publicly that, Chris, you're great and all, but basically Judi is the secret to your success. By the way,
Chris is an action taker. And I love it. And so, yes, he and I have been working together for a while now. I consider myself to be the pop to his sizzle. Is that like a good?
I like it.
I'm sorry.
Oh, Carrie, what? So I don't write every post and what I call polish or pop every post for him, but I swoop in and do one or two posts here and there that he hires me to do. And I make it pop.
Yeah, and you do such a good job. I mean, obviously, it's really helped elevate him as the thought leader in the industry, and primarily, again, through that platform. Real quickly, I do want to segue a little bit for a second, just kind of pull out of LinkedIn and segue into other platforms just in general. So Carrie has been doing some really interesting things. A lot of people in commercial real estate are reacting to the need to kind of go onto social platforms now based on the pandemic. And they're all kind of doing the same stuff, right? Like they're posting a video walkthrough of a space, or it's very generic. It's not necessarily the next level of what you should be doing in order to, create a voice and kind of break through the noise, so to speak. So when I discovered what Carrie and her team were doing at CarrieBobb&Co, it was like, I was like, wow, this is actually how Instagram's supposed to be used. You're taking custom photography and just a whole different approach. And by the way, it's not easy to do, right? So if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. So Carrie, if you could tell us a little bit about the formula behind what you guys have been doing, and then kind of the segue into HelloJenny, I think that would be exciting to talk about as well.
Yeah, for sure. I had heard that when you start like dipping your toe into social media, you should pick a platform that you own. You can be on other platforms, but there's one that you really dive into. And I chose Instagram because I saw retailers on Instagram, and I do retail leasing for landlords. And so because the retailers were playing in that space, I really wanted to play in that space. And so for about a year, about 18 months ago, I took a year to just study Instagram and how retailers, or even people who are selling things on Etsy, are selling through Instagram. Like, how are they driving revenue through these platforms? And it was just fascinating. And I kept going down all these rabbit holes. And I had this theory that if retailers are driving revenue through Instagram, brick and mortar landlords should be able to use it. But I was trying to like crack that nut and find the how do you unlock that? And so we approached a client and just said, hey, would you let us test running your handle and seeing if we can drive leasing through your social media? And we did, and we have discovered so much about engaging with brands and shop owners through their Instagram platforms. And you can really create a funnel for your leasing team. And so it's not the same, your leasing team isn't running the social handle. It's a new seat at the table where you have a social media manager who understands the end game with retail leasing and the messaging through it, and really creating a smart feed and making sure that the images all align with the branding of a shopping center, because we're finding that prospective tenants are looking properties up on Instagram before Google. So that's kind of the long and short of it. And then how Jay and I's paths crossed was through social. And when I shared with him what we were doing, he was like, we've got to scale this thing because it really will. It is the intersection of how brick and mortar meets e-commerce.
Yeah. So Judi, for me, it was like, I'm using video heavy. I'm developing personal brands for folks in commercial real estate, for brokers, for helping anybody really in the industry, and especially people at Sabre that are primarily brokers. And again, like, I'm guilty of using social media in like the generic way when I'm not vlogging, which is not so generic, but when I'm just posting on Instagram, I'm not even thinking about the stuff that Carrie just talked about for the most part, right? And it became super when we started talking about it. I have a digital marketing company, and we're working on digital marketing things and social media management and stuff like that. But again, in that really generic way and not necessarily geared towards real estate, right? So it dawned on me that, what Carrie was doing was, there were two things. One thing is, it's a little confusing when a company is a commercial real estate brokerage company as well as a digital marketing company, which is why for me it's always been separate, because they're two different things. And then in addition to that, the only way to scale social media the way Carrie's doing it is to build an infrastructure and a team. And you could tell everybody exactly what to do, and this, Judi. 9 out of 10 are not actually going to do it. So because it's not easy to do, it's super time consuming, and the photo shoots that Carrie and her team do are like full on day shoots that are bringing together all different types of people that are part of a project, and putting one brand on another tenant, and so on and so forth, and just creating this custom content, by the way, that could be used really well on LinkedIn. And I think Carrie, like, that's a whole nother thing that we need to really get with Judi on, because it's a whole nother highway, if you will.
Yeah, I'd love to get your take on this, Judi. So I feel like Instagram, we've got a handle. We know how some of the bells and whistles work to move the needle for landlords on Instagram. LinkedIn is like the next one I've got in my crosshairs, because one, I think it's easier to grow on LinkedIn than Instagram, and it's a little bit more user friendly. Also, all of the decision makers for national retailers are on this platform. And so one of the ways we've experimented on behalf of a client, and I would love to get your take on like other ways people or companies can reach through LinkedIn, was we had done a photo shoot with Equinox for a shopping center. And the trainers are like the most beautiful people ever. So the photos are, they say a lot about the shopping center by these trainers. And so I had called the rep in-house real estate person at Equinox and was just like, hey, would you mind sharing this photo on LinkedIn and just say, we love our trainers and Carlsbad, and just speak to them. And then when she posts it, I'll share it. We'll have the broker on the property share it. We'll have the landlord share it. And it's kind of like a validation for the project. And that's about as far as we've gotten with LinkedIn. But I think there's so much more opportunity with ownership on the commercial real estate side to do more B2B conversation. Because right now, the majority of our industry is doing B2C. They're talking to the consumers in the area saying, just come spend money at our shopping center. And it can go so much deeper. I would love your thoughts on how we could use it better.
So first, I'm not sure exactly where to start with that, but I do know that what popped in my head, and especially going back to what you just said about Instagram, we all need, especially somebody to look in from the outside to be able to see the bigger picture. And I feel like you're the, what is it called? The peanut butter jar analogy, where the person that you just described, they're in the jar. They can't quite see their own label of how they appear to their consumers, to other businesses, and how that makes them attractive. So I love what you're doing on Instagram. And the same thing can work on LinkedIn, what you just said, which is we want to celebrate the trainers and the business. A lot of times, and I'm sure you have the same experience, stories sell. So number one, is there a story there? Is there even a career story that could you tie in? Because a lot of people are on LinkedIn to level up their careers. So anytime, and I'm just getting you on the fast track of the highway here, like you could do a lot of stories, right? But imagine if you shared a micro slice of either the trainer's career or how she got connected, Equinox or he. I'm just throwing that out there as an opportunity because that would take off. That's more shareable to the platform, because if I could put myself in that person's shoes and see one step they took to get that opportunity at Equinox. I don't know, does that make sense?
100%. I think that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah. And a lot of times we try to share the whole career. We just need a micro slice. Like, what was one thing that you did that you think put your quote unquote resume at the top of the pile, kind of feeling to that post?
Yeah, Judi, I think that's so magical because, you know, an angle like that, first off, it's so human, you know, like it makes the company more human. It's about the people, which I think is super important today and moving forward for any company. And using Equinox as an example, that's a great example because they're a big company that might not seem so human, right? But you start attaching like those stories to the brand, they become more human. That's one thing. Another thing I wanted to point out, which I find very interesting, is in commercial real estate, people are very secretive for the most part, right? So, and this is part of the whole Gary V thing where it's like, yeah, if you're really good at what you do, like give it all away, right? People are going to want to work with you. They understand you're a thought leader. And I think the conversation that we're having here is so atypical of a typical commercial real estate person. And it's almost like they'd be like, you know what, this is so good that we actually should not share this with the world. Because I don't want my competition to have all these tidbits and nuggets. And Judi, if you thought that way, you wouldn't be giving this stuff up for free, right? Because you'd be like, no, you got to pay me in order to hear the secrets here and get on my highway. But the reality is, you know, if you're sharing these little tidbits with people and they're like, wow, I don't know as much as I thought I did, I should probably reach out to Judi.
Again, I feel like I'm full of analogies today. It's like Analogy Wednesday, but basically, and obviously you can listen to this any day, so every day of the week. The point is, I was going to give you another analogy. It's like the 5-star restaurant that you go to, that you eat at. They could give me their recipe, literally hand me their recipe, and I would still want to go to their restaurant because of many, many reasons, including not wanting to cook, and it just, for some reason, tastes better when they make it. And I think the same thing happens on social media. That is why we hire social media managers and why we hire teams and why we hire experts like me and Carrie and Jayson, because we don't want to do all the things. We want to outsource some of it. We want part of it to be easy, and we don't want the cleanup, the dishes, all the things. That's my final analogy of the day, I think.
I would say keep the analogies coming. I love it. Emily and I went through that thought process. You know, you grow up in this industry and you kind of have that ingrained in you a little bit. And as we started realizing that we were really discovering something super special with leasing and social media where it meets, we were like, I don't know if we should tell everybody what we're doing because every broker is going to start doing it this way. So we were kind of like tiptoeing our way through. And we finally just broke through because we realized nobody can do it the way we could do it. I could never create a vlog or do what you're doing, Jay. Never. Like, you could give me everything and I could never make it like you. And we realize that's what's really special about HelloJenny, what we're doing, is that it's really hard to recreate. Other people might do something similar, but it's going to be their own spin, as it should be, because they all bring something special too. So I think it's just really cool. And I hope that we're able to help kind of break those barriers in our industry too, and it's so much more freeing and better quality of life for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think, with the amount of people just kind of reaching out, again, especially, it's interesting. And I think I said this to you yesterday, Carrie, like, people in our industry are just really confused right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everybody's confused. When are things going to go back to normal? Is it ever going to go back to normal? Should I just start thinking about maybe another career choice, depending on how old you are in the industry? And a lot of, the things that we're doing, at our own brokerage firms, Carrie and I, as well as in our digital media company, HelloJenny, it's trying to help support, the industry as a whole. And I feel like, we're kind of responsible for that, like that evolution that's going on right now. And, the adjustment that's happening, because social media just happens to be native to what, we're doing pre-pandemic. Like, this has nothing this is not like, oh, wow, this is a major opportunity because coronavirus. Nothing to do with that. And I think that, what's really interesting is, even right now, when somebody calls you and says, listen, we're actually, since March, we've been really stepping up our social game. And, oh, by the way, we're hiring an unpaid intern to run our social media. That's offensive.
Yeah. I took a course when I was just kind of trying to figure this out by Founder Magazine. Do you guys follow them?
Yeah, I love Founder. Yeah.
They're amazing. Judy, you should check them out. You would love them.
I think I've seen them, but.
And one of the things that he said is, I don't know an entrepreneur who's killing it on social media that's not running their handles themselves. And then when you get to a certain point, whether it's 1 million followers or whatever it is, you're basically training a person where their sole job is to translate your voice into the social. But the barrier to get there is very, very high. And the point is that you can't just hire a college student to run your business social. Like, you people have to feel your voice and personality and all of that through there. Like, Judy, you were saying, it's like a networking event. I would never want someone who I hardly know to just come in and start representing my company at a networking event.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And when I think about LinkedIn, I have some clients that are part of $1 million deals that are happening, and they are happening through LinkedIn, or they're staying top of mind for the conversation that is happening off of LinkedIn. So either way, I am entrusted to represent, like you just said, somebody that has built up trust. So some of my clients I've been working with have been years. I think I'm on 2 years with a particular client that I have now seen a $9 million announcement that was generated. Again, these are longer deals. These are not something that just happens overnight. Oh, $9 million. And then the next one was $23 million, where they just rolled out at-home COVID testing. That's the new investment. So it's a venture capitalist that I'm working with, but it is incredible to watch that happen. And I feel so honored because I'm like, I'm a part of this. But it's happening on LinkedIn. And I think people aren't realizing that all the experience you might think from getting and sitting there on the sidelines and saying, well, LinkedIn is spam, or LinkedIn is annoying, or LinkedIn is this. Well, you're just sitting there letting it come to you instead of going out on the field and playing it. That is a whole different experience from the players on the field. That is another analogy. But that I tell people all the time, what you think the audience is experiencing, you're sitting in the stands, you get a whole nother perspective, and you can't know it until you're on the field.
Yeah, Gary said at an event years ago, and it stuck with me, This was in like 2017 at Agent 2021. He was funny actually, Agent 2021, and it's about to be 21. And this was 2017. He said specifically, he's like, you know, guys, a lot of you in this room, first off, you're here, so you're way ahead. The fact that you even like paid money, traveled to get here, you're way ahead. That's true. But a lot of you are starting to probably think to yourselves, I'm late to the game. And this is 2017. And he was talking about how you just need to dive in. You need to start. It doesn't matter when you start. Yeah, some of that oceanfront real estate in Malibu was bought a long time ago, right? Think about the person on Instagram who has just your first name. Like those people were early, right? Like we're not that early. Like our names are not that unique. We could have our own name on Instagram. But the people who bought in that early, you know, have, tremendous benefit from that. But the point really is that they're in certain industries, especially ours, Carrie, it's still early. Like people are thinking about like, why would I get involved in LinkedIn now? Everybody's on LinkedIn. Why would I do that? What do you mean? Like, you know, it became so apparent the minute that everybody was forced to go home and the lights went out, like they became invisible. Literally invisible. The only way to stay in front of people was through these social platforms that were extremely important to all of us way before the pandemic. Again, so we're getting the benefit of that because it was super noisy and we still had and to your point earlier, Carrie, LinkedIn is the best place to get organic attention right now, right?
Yeah.
Like that ship has sailed on a lot of other platforms. And Judi, it's, you know, you can really help people get noticed and turn that awareness and attention into dollars. This isn't only about, by the way, some people probably look and think that I just enjoy running around town with somebody filming me, you know, with a video camera, and that's the point of what I do. Believe it or not, guys, I wouldn't be sitting here today talking to both of you if I didn't do that. And for sure, I wouldn't be business partners with Carrie. I can promise you that. So, guys, stop worrying so much about the ROI of doing these things. It works. Do it. Be patient, be consistent, be disciplined. Everything works. And the bottom line is you also don't necessarily have to put out a ton of content. To your point, Judi, once a week on LinkedIn, that should be pretty easy. And by the way, engage in conversations with people, comment. You don't have to put out your own content either.
I think LinkedIn is the biggest return on your time investment for sure. And it's also like kind of the sleeper platform that I feel like that people think isn't as sexy or fun. It's not TikTok or whatever, but it will, to your point, you're doing deals through LinkedIn and you're meeting really significant people that I wish I had gotten on it and was more active sooner. I think that's, if someone's starting out, that's the best platform to kind of really get a handle on how to use social media.
Yeah. And I love what you just said, because it's not Malibu oceanfront, but whatever, pick your next favorite oceanfront, and it's definitely oceanfront.
It is.
And what you just said, you can get access to people, access to top 100 podcasts in your industry, access to, I have a message, I screenshot it, and of course I responded, but Miguel Forbes has connected with me and wrote me a message on LinkedIn. And I was like, what? Hi. Like, he wrote like, nice to meet you through LinkedIn. It could have been him. It could have been an intern. I don't care. Bobby Brown also sent me a message. It was just, I wrote her something really personal, and I really do think that was her writing me back. And then Ariana Huffington actually saw my client's comment and turned that comment. She turned it into a whole post for Thrive Global, and then posted her and her name to her 9 million followers on LinkedIn.
Oh my gosh.
Huge. And so, I mean, the ripple effect ended up, and of course I don't claim that, you never know which dot connected which dot, but I know that happened. And then it wasn't that many months later, and she hit 1 million views on her content, her videos. So That's,
Well,
would she turn down 1 million views? No.
right. Okay, so I don't have that following. I don't know anything like on LinkedIn. I was kind of like stumbling my way through, and I posted an article just on a joint venture that I thought was really interesting, that Heidi Zak, the CEO of Third Love, the lingerie company, she had personally invested $1 million into this cosmetics line or hair care line. And it was just talking about how she's mentoring the younger entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs. And I just thought it was really cool. So I wrote a little thing about the article and tagged her in it. And she wrote me back. I could never call and get Heidi Zak on the phone. And Third Love has been part of like my merchandising plan for so many shopping centers. I've done 0 deals with Third Love. But just from that one little post on LinkedIn, I immediately had an exchange with her, which blew my mind. I was like, that was my first experience of seeing the power of LinkedIn.
And I'll just I feel like I'm using all these key terms, but I'll piggyback off of that and say that, and you never know who knows somebody, because I've met people along the way, and I'm so grateful. I never judged, never decided you're in, you're out, you're influential, you're not influential. There's a really true line where I tell people are more than a title. So when you try to research LinkedIn, and you, especially Jayson was saying about the ROI, and everyone wants to ask that, I tell people, if you sit there and just map out this perfect plan of only perfect current titles, you're literally missing out that you forgot that this one person used to work for this company, and they actually have the ear, and they are hanging out doing barbecues with the decision maker at the company you really wanted to get at. They just don't have the current title that you were looking for.
Judi, also, I think it's interesting to note that you can create specific content to get in front of specific eyeballs, right? Like on LinkedIn, if you're actually looking to, I think you have to kind of reverse engineer, like understand what your goal is, right? And then reverse engineer kind of how to get the right piece of content in front of the right people. Can you kind of maybe talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, the one that comes to mind that I worked on recently was a travel company that wants to, obviously this is a really tough time, but it goes into properties with hotels and all those different, I don't know if this is relevant for your audience to kind of talk about how to get in front of hotels and all these big brands. Actually, the post was written about what's on your bucket list for 2021. And it really leaned into, if you can dream ahead, where do you want to go? And the images that went with the post were highlighting where she wants to travel, which were selectively curated to be places she wants to network and build and get brand attention. So we tagged them, we got their attention. She ended up with a ton of likes and comments. I think the post reached about 3,000 or 4,000 views, which is one of the very first posts we worked on. And she has an audience of maybe 700 followers. Wow. So to reach that level, I just tell people, you get access. You really do. And if you make them look good, if you make another brand look amazing, just like you, Carrie, were sharing that story, you made her look good. I can already tell the way you wrote that, you highlighted her. You don't have to be in the spotlight. Think about coming onto LinkedIn and sharing the spotlight. You'll get it. You'll get the light. It will bounce around and hit you, and you'll be just fine. So, but when you come on LinkedIn and you get the megaphone and you're like, me, we ignore that because there's just not enough light coming out of that megaphone. It's just a lot of sound.
Yeah, that's great point. What are the latest things that are happening on LinkedIn? By the way, still no LinkedIn stories for this guy.
What?
Stop.
They've singled me out, I swear. And
no way.
Is that crazy? I still don't have LinkedIn stories.
That is crazy. Do you have it, Carrie?
Yes, I've done a couple, but I just talked to a friend yesterday. I did an Instagram live on how to grow on LinkedIn.
That is totally fine.
So between that and today, like I am all fired up about LinkedIn, and I want to do my first LinkedIn live soon, because I just think all of this that we're saying, it's so important and pivotal to 2021 for sure. I think I know I can grow on LinkedIn way faster than I can on Instagram. And so I'm sorry, Jay asked you a question, which, but then one of my questions is like, how do you set goals for LinkedIn for like 2021? And I want to grow organically. I don't want to just grow for the sake of growing or have followers or connections for the sake of having connections. How do you organically grow? And what are some good goals for like the year?
Yeah. So I will circle back and say, if you want to do an Instagram live together, I'm happy to do that too on LinkedIn. We can talk about LinkedIn on Instagram. And then my next question, just to kind of segue, is do you have LinkedIn Live? Did you apply and get access? Because right now they still have an application process.
No, I didn't. I know nothing about it. So
that's okay. I just wanted to kind of like set your expectations, because that is when Jayson said, what do you see coming for LinkedIn? In 2021, I am hopeful and crossing my fingers that LinkedIn opens it up and just doesn't have an application process for LinkedIn Live. But my advice for a LinkedIn Live application, they are overwhelmed. I think they're really busy. So make it as short as possible. And you can share a video like this, for example, or any other video to show that you know how to go live. So they just don't need to be overwhelmed with information. So that's awesome. I would keep it short. The shorter the application, the better. What are the goals for 2021? A growth strategy it's kind of like you want to get started, but you want to like scoot into that left lane without hitting any other cars. So you want to probably merge in as fast as possible with a lot of commenting to kind of generate some initial sparks flying in your head for like, okay, this is what people are talking about. This is the lane I want to run in. And you really don't know that till you kind of step around the platform and check out what other people are doing. So commenting is number one. And when I say commenting, I want you to do what I call my high level leadership commenting. And not to overwhelm you with what that looks like, but the number one thing I want everyone to remember is your comment will be seen and will be more relevant if you tag back the author of the original post you're commenting on. So you comment on Jay, you write, oh my gosh, this is the best idea I've ever heard in the entire world. And you put the @ Jay and you credit him first, then you give your thoughts. It's just like meeting up in person. If Jay is doing something really cool, he's vlogging, I want to compliment him first. I want to be a natural, normal person that acknowledges Jay. Oh my gosh, that's so cool what you just did right there. I really liked this part, XYZ. Here's one thing I would add if I could, not that I'm trying to criticize you, but but that's that adding your 2 cents. It should really come in after. And there's 2 reasons to do that. Number one, it actually makes Jay feel great and it sets you up as a leader because you're able to see and hear other people, and that makes people trust you faster. And then the other reason is mirroring that concept actually makes sales smoother. So people feel when they see a public conversation like that, they feel more comfortable having a private conversation because they trust that you'll be a worthy and a normal, healthy, I don't know what the words I'm saying, but we just want normal in the DMs. We want somebody that's going to be cool. I mean, can I say cool?
You can. You just did.
We want it to be a good exchange in the DMs. And if we see you doing that publicly between you and Jayson, just you back and forth with him, we'll trust you faster. If you send something to me privately, I'll be like, oh, I just saw you publicly exchanging.
Yeah, it establishes some credibility along the way. Awesome tips there. Carrie, since we're getting ready to wrap up, we're getting a lot of inquiries since we just kind of made the HelloJenny thing public. Tell the world what HelloJenny does, since a lot of folks are very curious about what HelloJenny is.
Yeah, HelloJenny is a social media marketing company for retail landlords. So we run social media handles on behalf of retail property owners, and we do it through a leasing lens. So we'll we're not doing any transactions. We're not taking commissions. The goal is to really be the conduit between the social media platforms and the brokerage or leasing team. So it's impossible to ask your broker or your leasing people to run your social platform. It's just too much. And so if you have a social media company that understands the end goal, we can speak the language. Like we're all talking about, it's really hard to hire an intern to speak your language. But if we understand the end game and we understand the business of the retailers too, and what they're trying to convey, it's a total game changer. And we have so many case studies for what we've done on all different types of retail properties that I'm so excited, Jay, about January and just letting this thing loose. It's going to be so fun.
I am too. I mean, it's become very evident over the last 20 years that, commercial real estate brokerage and project leasing, are in a lot of ways stuck in the dark ages. And a lot of people are using the same marketing techniques and outreach techniques that were successful for them in 1987. And it hasn't really changed that much. And you hear a lot of talk in the industry about influencers and, what is that going to do? How do they help? How can they benefit a property owner? How does the end consumer actually play a role in who goes into a project, right? I think it's a way that the community is able to actually have a voice and, get that fun boutique, regional tenant that they'd love to see in a property that the landlord and their broker might not even know about. So it's crazy. It's next level. I couldn't be more excited either. Ladies, this was awesome. And I knew it would be. And I have a feeling where there's going to be a lot more conversations between the three of us in the future. Guys, Judi Fox rocks, in case you didn't know that. And she's like super available. And I am telling you that for anybody who is skeptical about engaging somebody to help teach you something, a specialist, a coach, a mentor, whatever it is, I can tell you, I get so much out of people that are actually really good at what they do. And you're not paying enough for the gems and the information and the things that you're able to put to use, because I can promise you, it's going to generate deals and dollars. And Judi, there's nobody better than you on LinkedIn. So I really, really appreciate what you did for myself and my team. I hope that I did it justice, because I don't think I said that to you before, but it's been absolutely amazing. And we're still just, even though we're really good at social media in commercial real estate, we're still just scratching the surface, and we're students, and you were an amazing professor. Thank you so much. And Carrie, 21 is going to be absolutely amazing, and I'm so excited for it.
We're coming.
We are. Judi, last thoughts.
Yeah, anyone can reach me at my JUDIFOX.com.
Excellent. Carrie, where can they find you?
We are HelloJenny on Instagram. And then Carrie Bobb on LinkedIn.
There we go. Excellent. Thank you, guys.
'Cause this is digital discussions.